I anonymously put my friend's phone number on a gay Craigslist ad. This was a few years ago before CL stopped the relationship stuff. As a joke, I created an ad for Craigslist relationships, male looking for male. Essentially, the ad was pretty much a guy looking for a one-way ticket to Pound Town, ready to duck and suck anything, willing to be a cum dump and all types of things. I made sure to make it for serious inquiries only. I put his phone in the weird code like everyone else on similar ads like 5555337 to 5545. I sat back and waited. The next day, he makes a FB post about whom the duck put my number on a gay Craigslist ad, and if he gets one more peen pic, he will strangle whoever did this. As you could imagine, the comment replies on his post were great. The calls, texts continued for a few days until I took the post down and went to go hang out with him. He told me about the phone calls he got, the text messages, the pics. Oh, it was great. I never laughed so hard. I never admitted to it. I don't regret it. I crap in a mason jar and left it in my friend's pantry. Here we go. About 13 years ago, my 19-year-old self was partying at a friend's house. There was probably a good 20 to 25 people packed inside this 1000 SQF house. I had been drinking Mike's Hard Lemonade and tampon blender benders all night long. Full disclosure. I have an allergy involving certain alcohols that can cause severe hives, swollen throat, and intense diarrhea. I was 19 and stupid. Anyways, I was chatting with my gal pal at the time and felt the inevitable groan in my stomach. Crap, I thought. Figuratively and literally. I asked where the bathroom was, and she pointed down the hall. I squeezed myself through the teenage crowd only to find a ridiculously long line of women waiting to use the toilet. My bowels were screaming. The cramps were intensifying. I recalled seeing a toilet closet in the basement of the house once before and decided to take my chances. I darted down the stairs all while puckering my pooper with all the strength in me. It was dark, so I flipped the light switch and saw the porcelain throne glowing in the corner of the room. I slammed the door behind me and shoved my pants down around my ankles. I make a swift penguin waddle over to the toilet. To my surprise, the toilet isn't connected to the plumbing. It's just sitting in the corner of the room. A failed attempt at a bathroom remodel. I had put myself in a perilous poo position with no escape. People saw me come down here. There's no way I could poo in the toilet and get away with it. By now anus was on fire. I could barely hold it in much longer. I panicked. I scanned the room and noticed an open mason jar filled with potpourri with the lid lying beside it on a shelf. My mind was made up. I snatched the mason jar from the shelf and promptly dumped the potpourri into the empty toilet bowl. Ever so carefully I placed the mason jar on the floor of the bathroom and popped a squat over it. Spreading my cheeks and with surgical precision, I shat my brains out in that jar. I filled that sucker to the brim. I released the kraken of anal size and never felt such relief before in my life. But what now? What do I do? I can't leave it in here. I hear my friends calling me from upstairs that they were wanting to leave. I needed an escape plan, now. Quickly I pulled up my pants. Wiping was not an option, but I'd pinched off like 99.99% of my crap, so it was clean enough, and placed the lid on the mason jar. It was warm. So warm. Still unsure of what to do next, I hide the jar under my hoodie and exit the bathroom as if nothing happened. What were you doing down there? My friend asked. Just freshening up, I said, in absolute horror that she may notice my mason jar crap smuggling. Hurry up, we're all in the kitchen waiting to leave, she barks. I swim through the crowd of people to the kitchen to meet my friends. They're all crowded around the pantry door, which was next to the door to the garage. There you are, they holler as they open the door to the garage. Here's my chance. The door to the garage was blocking the visual to the pantry. I did it. I slide the smuggled crap jar out from under my sweater and place it next to identical jars in the pantry. And promptly left with my friends. To this day, I wonder. I wonder with so much wonderment that I wonder how I've never been caught. Did they ever locate this jar and open it? Was it assumed beef stew? Was it tasted? Smelled? Tossed? I regret this. But I was desperate. This is my profession. Edit. Thanks for the silver, stranger. I'm shocked, amazed, and mildly disturbed that you're all so fascinated with my story. Edit 2. You've all warmed my heart like the mason jar warmed my hands with your comments on my writing. I am not a writer, but I always enjoyed journaling and telling stories. Albeit exaggerated ones. You guys are great. Keep that crap up. Edit 3. I'd like to thank the Ball Mason Jar Factory, awkward allergies, and my dysfunctional sphincter sports medal. I couldn't have done this without you. My fiancé and I tested his sister's supposed gluten allergy. Edit. She's been to the doctor for both celiac and gluten allergy sensitivity tests. Her results came back negative for both, but she says the doc is lying in order to run more tests. Edit 2. Holy shit, is my inbox blowing up? Edit 3. This was 2 years ago. His mother found out and gave us a severe tongue lashing, then told the sister and she screamed at us for an hour. We've not done it since and will never do it again. We were both so sick and tired of listening to his sister whine about gluten this and gluten that. And she'll carry on about how everything had to be gluten-free to the point where she's taken over the family pantry. Mind, we both understand the seriousness of the celiac disease. So, the only reason we decided to test her was that is how she eats when it's something she really wants. One night she found out halfway through dinner that her dad had forgotten about the GF breadcrumbs she'd bought and had instead used the normal variety he's been cooking with as far back as he can remember. Holy hell, did she raise a stink. Completely stopped eating her meal and spent the rest of the night bitching and moaning about stomach cramps and other assorted bathroom issues. This carried on into the next day where she lectured him about gluten allergies while still mourning about bathroom problems. Now, when it's something she really wants, is a completely different story. She'll eat whatever it is and go about her day like a normal human being. Not a peep about stomach pains or anything. Sometimes she'll even have seconds or behind it to work for lunch the next day. So, here's where we experimented with her. The recipe called for browning the hamburger and then mixing in some flour to make a paste. I was going to skip it entirely to be nice, but my fiancé said he wanted to test her response. So, I made the recipe as listed, but only he and I knew about it. Everyone ate the dinner, rave reviews. They told me I could make that again any time. And wouldn't you know, not one peep from the sister. She even had it for lunch the next couple of days and still not a word. My fiancé lied to me about his age. I, 29F, met him in 2020 and he told me he was 35 years old. He was so much in a hurry to settle down with me, but I kept on turning down his proposals cause I wasn't so sure about marrying him yet. He introduced me to his family and kept on putting pressure on me to accept his proposal so that we can start a family as soon as possible. I was so skeptical about him cause he never let me see any of his personal documents. I always felt that he looked older for his fake age, but I couldn't lay my hands on any proof. The pressure from him and his family kept on increasing till I finally accepted his proposal this 2022. Today he and I went to the hospital for our premarital screening, so we were both given a form to fill in our personal information. I was sitting beside him proofreading the form when he walked up to the man in charge and asked him to fill his, claiming that he couldn't see well and that he needs reading glasses. I was surprised cause I'd never known him to be someone with a visual impairment. The man was asked his date of birth and I overheard him saying 1976. Which means he is 46 years old instead of the 36 he once told me. I understand why each time I asked him about his birthday, he usually said he has forgotten and that he was going to check and get back to me. This man has shown me so much love since the day I met him, but right now, I feel like he was just faking it to make me marry him and start making babies. I feel so hurt. I want to break up with him. Got cheated on by my GF, 24, of 7 years while abroad. How do I move on? I literally feel so numb at the moment. Am I overreacting? So basically, I am abroad for my study program. I left at the end of August and will go back home end of December. I and my GF had a, what I thought, very strong relationship. Even though we had our struggles in the relationship, religious differences, I always believed our love would conquer this. She was my lover and best friend, I shared everything with her, and she also did the same with me. I trusted her. She had my bank details and knew about my insecurities, my childhood trauma, etc. I supported her during her depression and always was there for emotional support. So last night, my girlfriend told me she made out with a guy from her internship while the two of them went to the cinema. She says she deeply regrets it, that it was a one-time thing and that she doesn't want to be in contact with him again. The worst thing is, she kept it from me for a week. During this time, we had daily contact in which she stated that she misses me and that the cinema was not the same without me. She told me she still loves me, and that everything she said in this week of hiding was true. Even though she said this, I ended things. Also, some things that are bothering me. We abstained from intercourse, heavy make-out sessions for a couple of months some years ago, because it made her feel guilty about her religion, and I respected this. While all this was happening, I was laying sick in bed with pneumonia. I even told her how lonely I felt because I was sick in a foreign country. The worst thing is, I feel like I miss her, which angers me so much. She was the only real person I had contact with daily. We told each other everything. I feel so weak about this. I feel so crap. How did you guys move on from this? I legit just want to give up on life, my studies, etc. I am really considering packing up and going home right now. My wife's surprise stopped me from committing the biggest mistake of my life. I, 33M, and my wife, 29F, have been together for 6 years and married for 2. She has a childhood friend Dave, 30M, who's dating Tessa, 27F. 4 of us are in the same city and Tessa is also my colleague, same department, and I was the one who set them up. My wife and Dave call E.O. soulmates. Although I've never had any problems with Dave as I trust my wife and my wife isn't the one to cheat, they have been super close for the past 3 weeks up to the point they were whispering into E.O. ears, giggling, and every time I'd ask her what's funny, she'd just casually shrug and shoo me away saying it's a secret. She'd whisper talk to him in the other room, which she never used to do, and she's been frequenting her visits to his cafe. Dave owns and runs a cafe. The 4 of us go on double dates from time to time, and there's also the same situation. They just talk to E.O. in signs, smile knowingly, and then start acting normal when they'd see me and Tessa watching, and I knew for sure that it bugged Tessa too. Also, I and my wife used to have a healthy sexual life which decreased from several times a week to once, twice a week. All these and her staying away from me and keeping secrets really strengthened my suspicions. Last week my department had to go on a business trip for 5 days 3 states away from our city, and I had informed my wife about 3 days prior. She seemed upset at first, but later after a quick visit to Dave's cafe returned with a smile. And that upset me more. Also, that night, I overheard her and Dave talking and planning to go somewhere together. She was surprised to see me there and cut the call abruptly, and I acted like I didn't hear a single thing, although I was fuming and plotting inside. I went on the trip as casually as I could with Tessa and 2 other colleagues. Our company had provided us with separate rooms with room service. My mind was filled with revenge plans, and I decided that if she, my wife, was enjoying herself, then why couldn't I? The city we went to is famous for its nightlife, so my plan was to complete my work for the day and go out and most possibly bring a girl to our room, and y'all know what'd be next. So, I completed my work, changed into casuals, checked out, and went to the bar where I proceeded to chug down a few shots for a good half hour. I could see some girl eyeing me in my peripheral vision, and I considered it my to-go moment. As I was about to approach my would-be AP, I was distracted by a bunch of frantic calls from one of my colleagues about how I didn't submit the project in time and how boss had been fuming at me. I tried to call in my other colleague and even Tessa, but they didn't even budge. Alas, my plan fell short and I had to go back to the room. Luckily the hotel I was staying at was just 10 minutes away from the bar, and I intended to return to the bar as soon as I was done with my work. All while walking I was sulking about how I couldn't get to extract my plan. The moment I opened the door to my room, there was my wife in all smiles, who then yelled a big surprise. Also, it was weird for me to not submit my work on time. Before I had a chance to know WTF was happening, she shoved something in front of my face. I just got to recognize the 2 red lines and the switches just clicked. IDK what happened next, but all I could remember is both of us kissing and crying tears of joy. My wife was pregnant. Like my wife is actually pregnant. I forgot all about my suspicions, all about my plans, that chick in the bar, and hugged my wife as long as I could, and kissed her belly several times. That night we had an amazing session, and my wife was back in my arms. The next morning, Dave and Tessa congratulated me and informed me that they were now engaged, and we went on a double date. Later my wife apologized to me for ignoring me knowingly and keeping secrets and how they were just planning to surprise me with the news of pregnancy and Tessa with a marriage proposal. Also, she personally apologized for resisting my advances as she was insecure about her body and scared of hurting the baby. She's a scaredy cat. And man, I felt like a gallon of ice-cold water being thrown on my face, and never in my life, I was ashamed as much as I'm now for even doubting this woman. We spent the rest of the week enjoying ourselves to the fullest and visiting many places, shopping for some baby clothes. We couldn't resist TBH. We're now back to our normal lives. Whilst I'm the happiest with my wife's pregnancy, I'm still ashamed about my thoughts. God knows what would have happened and where I would be now if my wife had caught me with some random chick that night. On one hand, I want to tell my wife everything, but on the other hand, I'm scared of her reaction and the possible effects on our baby. She's now almost 3 months. I love this woman that's my wife and I want to spend my life with her, taking care of her till the end. So, please tell me if it'll be a good thing to just lay myself bare to her or hold my tongue as long as I can. Edit. Holy crap. I didn't expect it to blow up. I have been replying to some comments and phew, it took a toll on me. Nevertheless, I welcome all kinds of criticism here. BRB, and will make sure to reply to most of your concerns.
Like and subscribe for more ducking content.